What is up, YouTube? This is Cyphergon, your chat with the cat, back again for another video, and welcome to my month-long Halloween special. Now, this week we're going to be talking about another top 5, similar to what I did last week, but this time we're going to be talking about spooky stuff. Not just bad people, but things that are just downright scary and creepy and perfect for this holiday season. And I couldn't think of any better way to start off this one than my top 5 spooky decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, when I say spooky decks, I don't necessarily mean anything that's like scary, since this deck isn't known for being overly graphic. I just mean things that are generally kinda scary in nature or theme. So, it doesn't have to be like, but just, you'll see what I mean soon. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this list started with number 5. So, starting off the number 5 spot on my list is none other than Ghostrix. Ghostrix are probably one of the most Halloween-y decks out there, since that's literally the theme of the deck, is Halloween. You got all sorts of crazy monster stuff in there. You got your Frankensteins, your vampires, your ghosts, Grim Reapers, any kind of monster they can think of is in this deck. And the way they do it's more of a cutesy sort of thing, so like I said, it's not terribly graphic, but it's impossible not to feel a Halloween vibe in there. Especially if you got cards like Jack-O-Lantern, which is literally a Jack-O-Lantern. It's just a fun little deck. I've personally never been into it. However, I can't deny the spirit of Halloween that this deck just radiates outward. That's all I got for that one. Number 4. People are afraid of a lot of things in the world, and one of the more common ones is actually a fear of spiders. So, it makes sense that Yu-Gi-Oh! Would even dive into that fear and create a spider-themed deck. Now, while spiders themselves are not exactly what you would call good in any way, shape, or form, the spider deck does still zoom in on that spooky aspect by creating some of the most grotesque spiders imaginable. From their one synchro monster that requires a beast for some reason, to the myriad of other ones that they have. They're just disgusting monsters, honestly. Even if we go to some of the earlier spider-like monsters like Jiraiya, they're just not attractive to look at, but they're giant spiders. They're not supposed to be. But the 5Ds ones for me do really capitalize on that creepy aspect of it, and they were even used in the anime by, I believe it was Roman was his name, one of the Dark Signers from the first main arc. But that's really all I got for these guys. They're creepy, they're ugly, they're just downright spooky. Moving on to number 3. When I think of Halloween, there's a couple of things that come to mind immediately. Trick-or-treaters, candy, women walking around in skimpy outfits labeling them as witches. But one of the main things that also comes to mind is vampires. And fortunately, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has decided to grace us with a vampire deck. Now, there was originally a couple of vampire cards around the GX era, and even before then, Kaiba ran Vampire Lord. But as I said, in GX with Camula, we got a couple more cards, including Vampire Genesis, and then more recently during the Zexal era, we got a ton of new vampire support, including a rank 5 monster and a field spell, which helps kind of power the way the vampires work. They're a really interesting series of monsters, and even outside of their own archetype, tons of other archetypes have tried to take the vampire motif. For example, the Ghostrix I mentioned earlier, one of their main monsters is Ghostrix Alucard, which is a play on words for Dracula, one of the more common ones used nowadays, and is just taking the vampire motif because vampires are fucking scary. So the fact that they're not only present within their own archetype, but outside into various other archetypes really speaks for the just magnetic pull that these cards have on us. Again, they're just creepy, spooky cards, and it's hard not to like them. Now we move on to number 2. This next sphere, ironically, is one only known to the non-Japanese players out there, as this deck is TCG exclusive. If you haven't been able to figure it out by now, then, well, obviously you weren't paying attention to the picture I posted. It is the Burning Abyss archetype. Now, the reason that I consider Burning Abyss to be such a spooky deck is because of two reasons. The first of all, and the reason I actually do kind of like the idea of the deck, is its lore, or at least what it's referencing. For those of you who don't know, the Burning Abyss is based off of the Divine Comedy, otherwise known as Dante's Inferno. It was a novel written long, long ago. I probably should have done the research on that, but whatever. Um, and it tells the tale of a man named Dante who, with his assistant or his guide, Virgil, goes down through each of the nine circles of hell, facing against all man or witnessing all manner of demon and grotesque spectacles until he reaches the final layer down in the ninth circle where he meets the devil himself. And that's what these cards are. They're each supposed to be representative of a different demon that Dante encountered in his travels. And then the extra deck monsters are inherently Dante and Virgil. But another reason I think they look so cool, aside from just what they're supposed to be, is the card art. These guys are some of the best looking cards I've seen since Noble Knights, and Noble Knights are beautifully drawn cards. The Burning Abyss, just the amount of detail that goes into them, especially certain monsters like Scarm and Graph, are just downright terrifying. They're really cool to look at. Just the details that went into them, like Scarm's long nails, or the jowls on Graham, or Sir's pig-like snout. Just all of it was incredibly well done, and the flaming backgrounds all look just straight out of hell. It's a really cool drawn archetype. The lore behind it is just downright awesome. It, to me, this is really a hell deck if ever there was one, and that deserves it the number 2 spot on my spooky decks. However, there is only one deck that can hold the number 1 spot. What deck could possibly be more sinister and spooky than hell itself? Let's find out. Now, this deck is truly one of the most disturbing decks I have ever seen, and this is purely based on the art itself. It is none other than Gimmick Puppets. This deck had a bit of a streak going on after the first Premium Gold set, where they were first introduced into the TCG card game. However, even before then, the anime decided to show them off through the character Quattro, who used the Gimmick Puppets himself. And dear God, these cards are just nightmare fuel. If you guys haven't seen them, they're dark machine types that go into rank 8. And a lot of them are just mannequins that are mixed and mangled every which way imaginable. For those of you who may have seen the duel in the season 5 of the first series where Yugi faces Bakura during their big shadow game, he uses these weird sort of mannequin things, and it just reminds me of that, and that alone kind of creeped me out. I don't know what it is about this deck. Just the cards themselves all look just storied and monstrous, and it's just uncomfortable to look at for me. There's not one monster in there I think is aesthetically pleasing, but given the nature of this list, I guess that kind of works for it. And even if we go into the anime itself, Quattro, the person who uses them, is messed up. The guy just is completely insane and just he basically slaughters people for fun within the context of the series anyway. But it's just so dark and creepy. It had to be number 1 on this list. I have to give it them because while Burning Abyss and all the others may be hellish and Halloweenish and all that stuff, this deck is Nightmare Incarnate, and that makes it the number 1 spooky deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! But what do you guys think? Did I truly nail the spirit of the holidays in this list? Did I miss any really scary decks? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Of course, don't forget to also like my page on Facebook, so let me know there as well. Like this video and subscribe to my channel for further content. Until next time, happy haunting!